Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the June 25th meeting of the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board. Can we please begin with a roll call?
Amanda Schreier.
Here.
Theodore Aspergren.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg.
Here.
Dan Pickney.
Here.
Takara Chambers.
Here.
Gabriel Joslavsky.
Here.
Ken Breslau.
Here.
Reginald Stanball.
Here.
Nick Casali.
Thank you. We now move on to approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do we have any changes by staff? Okay, seeing none. Any members of the board, would you like to make any changes to the agenda as presented? Okay, can we have a motion to approve, please?
I move we approve the agenda for June 25th, 2019 for the West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We now move on to approval of the minutes from the May 28th meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes as presented? Can we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from the May 28th, 2019 meeting of the Historic Preservation Board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We move on now to the report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good evening, Frederique Metner, City Historic Preservation Planner. Since the board's last meeting, staff has reviewed 88 Level 1 applications and 27 zoning reviews. You also will find at your seats This Place Matters sign. Maybe someone can hold it up for the audience to see. It is, thank you. It is a program by the National Trust that has then been filtered down to the state and at the local governments. So if you find a place that matters to you, if you'll take a picture and send it in. I know we've already had a few submissions, but now we have the official signs to go with it to continue to promote historic preservation. And speaking of promoting historic preservation, this is probably all of our favorite portion of the meeting every year, which is when we present and honor the award winners in historic preservation around the city. And we do have 3 categories. And the first category that we would like to award is in the rehabilitation category. This is for an excellent example of a property that has retained its character-defining features, yet been brought up to modern standards. And the winner this year is 216 Lakeland Drive. It's a 1922 bungalow in the Central Park Historic District. And I think probably most significant is when you see the before pictures of this property, which was the before, had kind of lost some of its original charm and been altered over the years and had significant structural issues, both in the main house and in the accessory structure. And I know we see a lot of those applications for demolition of the accessory structure. But the owners, George and Jana Harvey, who are here today, decide to restore and do all the structural support for the accessory structure and the main house. And it has been beautifully restored. So if you would come up, please. I think they've got the whole family here. We would like to present them with the Rehabilitation Award for the 2019 Preservation Award. We'll get a picture. Here's your chance.
And you could speak right here into the microphone.
Watch out. We're very excited to be honored. We appreciate it. We love the community. We love being part of the community. The project was exciting. We enjoy renovating historics. The character, the beauty, the historical aspect to the home, who's lived there, what part did it play in the community. And it is a labor of love, that particular house there. And we're excited too, the one right next door. is our next one, and I have my plans signed off by the architect today, and they should be submitted soon, so
Thank you.
look forward to getting everything approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next category is Infill Design, and this year's award winner goes to the Park Slope Project in Grandview Heights Town and Courtyard Homes that took their cues from the Armory Arts Center around the corner. Was a vacant lot that previously had townhomes planned, and that did not come to fruition. It's a challenging site because it's tight, and it butts townhomes to the north and the convention center to the north and Howard Park to the west. But the design and developer did an amazing job with creating compatible infill design on this vacant lot. And so this year, we want to award the Infill Design Award to Neil Kozlikoff for the Park Slope project, and we have representatives here for the project. Thank you very much. I'll do a picture and get a plaque. I don't know who's going to get it.
CFO and the CO.
There you go, perfect. I don't want to lose the screws.
Oh, let's have some heavy. I'll let you know that.
And I'm just gonna take 2 quick shots.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll put you in the middle.
Thanks again.
And if you want to say anything, you're welcome to.
And then the third category is for service. This year's service award goes to Kirk and Cheryl Grantham. They have lovingly restored many homes in Prospect Southland Park, but also in the Grandview Heights, the Grandview Heights Historic District, where they run Casa Grandview and have surrounding homes, and they have maintained them meticulously. But it's even above and beyond the service of the restoration. They are always welcoming to any preservation group that comes into town, any planning group that comes into town. They are happy to showcase and speak about the benefits of preservation, including repairing windows or restoring detail features. And so this year we honor Cheryl and Kirk Grantham for all their properties and service to preservation. If you'll come up, please.
I just want to say thanks for believing in us. It's been a pleasure, and we've been doing this now for 14 years, and Lord willing, we'll keep doing it. So thanks, because it all started here.
Well, I'm glad everyone here that even though you might be here for a project that's on the agenda, that you at least got to take part in the Preservation Awards this year. It's easy for us to focus on the process rather than the end result sometimes when we're here at the board. And it's inspiring to see completed projects and the people that make such a successful preservation program possible in the city of West Palm Beach. So thank you all and congratulations. We now move on to remarks by the chairperson. So the matters before us are quasi-judicial in nature, which means we base our decisions based on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us. And we ask you to please keep that in mind when speaking. The meeting today will actually be a little bit of a departure from how we normally do meetings. So going forward, the applicant is actually going to present prior to the staff member. So for each case, the applicant will present, then staff will present. Then we will open it up to public comment, which will be limited to 3 minutes per person. And then if the applicant would like to make a rebuttal, they're welcome to do so to address some of the comments or questions that came about during public comment. And afterwards, we will go into executive session where we will discuss the case and a motion will come about. So to lead into this, we need to let you know if we've had any conversations outside of this meeting. So we will begin with a declaration of ex parte communications.
No ex parte communications. Sorry, Nicholas Casatli.
Takara Chambers, no ex parte communication.
Gabe Charoslavsky, no ex parte communications.
Theodore Aspergren, no ex parte communication.
Amanda Skyer, I did speak to Ms. Mittner about the cases on tonight's agenda, but I can make my decision based on the evidence presented.
Kristen Kellogg, no ex parte communication.
Dan Pickney, no ex parte communications.
Ken Breslauer, no ex parte communication.
Reginald Stanball, no ex parte communication.
Okay, thank you. So now we enter into the public comment portion of our meeting. So if you're here to speak on an item that's not on the agenda, so on a topic that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Is there anyone here to speak on something not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the swearing in of our speakers. If you are here to speak on a case this evening, please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to the consent portion of our agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda. Can we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve case number 14-03C for 931 Court for ad valorem completed work.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So if you are 931 39th Court, your completed work has been approved, and congratulations on a successful project. And then we'll move on to new business with case number 19-31, 531 36th Street.
They're on a PDF, so they're already on. Okay. So how do I do it? You would just scroll through. Okay. Oh, they're up on the other one. Okay. So they'll go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? My name is Martin Connolly. I represent New South Window Solutions in West Palm Beach. How much time do I have? 3 minutes?
Oh, you have 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
3 minutes is for public comment. You get a little bit longer since
Gotcha.
you're the applicant.
This is the first time that I've ever been in front of a board. I've been in the window business since 2008, and I understand certain places have ordinances and you don't want to step on any toes. I had met Tracy back in February to quote out windows on his home. When I pulled into the driveway, I immediately looked to the right of his home and saw a home with windows, and I thought that they were my company's windows. They looked exactly like my windows. I said to him, I haven't been in the historic district in at least a year and a half because I didn't want to waste anyone's time by going in there and not being able to put in the windows that I have to offer. But seeing the next door neighbor's house, I thought I could make a case for the windows looking the same. And then I had called the office and found out that we had done another home about 8 streets down on 45th Street? 45th Street. So we went under contract, we went through a lot of things with the lead paint, and we're now here before the board. I just want to make a clean, simple case, and hopefully everyone here has an open mind to just pictures that I have taken and just go through my thing, okay? So I'm going to skip this first picture, and I'll come back to it shortly.
Scroll down, I think. There you go.
Sorry, guys. All right, so first picture is the house that's adjacent to Tracy and Leah's home. These are the windows that I had thought were my windows. On the vinyl windows, generally they're insulated windows. The muttons are in between the glass. When I had come into contact with Aaron, he had come forth with a few changes to make, which I've abided by. Hopefully that works. I just took like 3 or 4 pictures of the house next door, okay? The next picture is the house on 45th Street. This is our window. This is the vinyl window with the muttons on the outside that look pretty comparable to the windows that are on this home. Am I allowed to ask if everyone would agree that that looks similar?
You're presenting your evidence. It's not
Okay.
really a conversation
Gotcha.
yet, but
Okay, so that's one of the windows that I just went straight up to and took a very close-up picture, and then I took a picture of the side of the house with the muttons on the outside of the window. Generally, if someone's in the street, I can look at a window and I know if it's vinyl or aluminum just by looking at the corners of a window. That is the only way that I can tell. Next, I'm going to go to the first window that Aaron used in his pinpoint. This was directly across the street from Tracy's home. Now that's an aluminum window. If you look at the cross section in the center, the dividing part of the window, it's all pitted and corroded already from the aluminum. I understand on the vinyl windows, people are under the conception that they can turn color. If that was to happen under the conditions of our window, we would replace the window. Now, can I come in there and just show you something with the window? Okay. These are 2 different vinyl windows made and sold.
could you stand at the other microphone? Just because this is broadcast on television. Yes, you are.
I should have told my wife. 2 different vinyl windows made and sold here in the state of Florida, okay? It is very hard to tell the difference in the window, but what I'm gonna do, is it okay if I cut the windows open like a birthday cake, and we can see that there is metal reinforcement inside this window to where this window is generally just a vinyl window. This is aluminum inside the window. This may work. Everybody, I'm loud, no? I wanna come this way and just walk across in 3s, if I can. Can you see that the one on the top is more white than the one on the bottom? If you look closely, can you see that? Can you see the one on the top is a little more white than the one on the bottom? Can you see that difference? The one on top is just a little bit more white than the one on the bottom. I have been working with New South Windows since they opened their doors on Okeechobee Boulevard, since day one. I see the value in dealing with one company where they're the manufacturer. If a customer ever has an issue, the company's going to stand behind the product. New South Windows, what they did was, they came to Florida in 2009. Everyone in their warranty has normal weathering to protect themselves against a window issue like that. From the sun is the main thing down here. New South Windows did 2 things different with their manufacturing process. The difference in the color and the vinyl, it has titanium dioxide blended into the vinyl to protect it from normal weathering and mainly the sun. The extruded aluminum is in there for the strength and durability, so the windows will hold up for 35, 40 years in the house, okay? We are the only company that does not have a normal weathering clause inside the warranty. If anything ever happens to the window, we simply have to replace it. They've been in business since 2009. Thousands and thousands of people have the windows across the state. 7 locations throughout the state of Florida that we service. They just built a 234,500 square foot factory that the governor broke ground with us in Tampa in 2017. No company in the state of Florida has made more of a financial commitment to the state of Florida than New South Windows. I hope that you'll have an open mind to letting Tracy have the windows in his home, just like the neighbor 8 streets down the way in historic West Palm Beach. And hopefully someday I can stand before the board and the homeowner wins an award for the
vinyl
first
windows.
award that I saw here in the evening. I think I've done my
Yes,
part.
thank you.
very much.
And does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
The application says that you are replacing the majority of the windows. So are you replacing all the windows or some of the windows?
All of the
All of
windows.
the windows. So if I can, most of the windows in the house, they're wood windows, but I don't know if they're original or they're just very old. There's a couple in particular that when I attempted to open and close them, they actually just disintegrated in my hands. So it's not a question of when. I mean, we've got to get the windows in ASAP. And all of the companies that I dealt with, New South Windows was the only one who was actually guaranteeing their product, and which is what made me want to go with them. So.
And what is the guarantee on your product? The warranty, I'm sorry.
The warranty is what? It's
As
lifetime.
long as you live in the house, we
Yeah.
fix your windows forever for free.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the
So they
warranty.
might not last 3 years, but you'd replace it anyway.
Haven't had
It
to
might not
replace-
last 2 years, but you'd replace it anyway.
Haven't had to replace any windows.
Well, and so it doesn't transfer to future owners? It does transfer, okay.
I brought copies of the warranty, enough to give to
Okay.
everyone on the board.
Have you had an opportunity to review the conditions that staff has requested?
Yes, and I think we met 95% of them.
95% of it.
What's the 5%?
There was one.
Can you come over to the microphone,
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
so,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
There's one window on the front of the house
Oh, right.
that I had sold a 3-light slider. It's a picture window in the center, and the 2 sides, they slide in towards the middle. I believe they came back with picture window and casement windows on the side. And that was the only one that I just asked, if I'm putting double hung windows on the whole house, I can put 2 double hung windows on the front window, or I can do a picture window with a double hung window on each side to make it look like the way that it does now with matching grids. Other than that, everything we're happy to abide by. Just no casement windows.
You don't make them?
Nope.
Okay.
How many original wooden windows are there?
8, well. 4, so there would be 14 wood windows and 4 aluminum on the front of the house.
Okay, 14. Are the wooden windows clustered on any particular elevation of the home?
Not really sure I understand.
Clustered, I believe what you're referring to is the window on the front of the house, like sometimes they have 2 windows or 3 windows.
No, what I'm getting at is that, let's say the front of the home, if there's like one original wooden window and then the rest are all replacements, okay, a situation like that. But I'm referring to, let's say, on another side, east-west side, all you have are original wooden windows. Do you have
Oh,
a
no.
situation like that?
That's not the case, no.
The front of the house has aluminum windows on it.
Yeah, then we've got would be the west side of the house, there are 1, 2, 3 wood windows and 1 like glass block window. In the bathroom, the back of the house has a couple of aluminum windows in the entry area that were replacements, probably some Home Depot jobs.
Do you happen to know if the original windows are operational?
The bottom portion is, the top portion is not. They were probably nailed.
Okay, in other words, it's painted closed?
Yeah,
Okay.
what do you call it, the
But
double
other,
hung.
but other than that, it goes
They
up
are
and down?
functional, like I said, most of them when I attempted, or not most of them, I shouldn't say that. A couple of them when I attempted to open them, literally just fell apart.
Well, that happens, but, what we're talking about, 2 out of 14?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
What's that?
I said thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I just want to make sure I understand that one window, the front window. So you can do a fixed center window and double hung sash windows on either side?
Correct? Or
Or,
I saw the next door neighbor, I have, in one of the pictures, he has 3 double hung windows where I can put 2 windows, or if you wanted, I could put 3 in there. But that
Okay.
window, that opening is a little bit smaller than what the next door neighbor has. I believe the next door neighbors, according to what I see and my expertise, they might have 3 36-inch windows. He would be able to put 2 45-inch windows, double hung windows, to match the rest of the house.
okay. Do you have any further questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Aaron?
Aaron Borngraber, Historic Preservation Planner, 531 36th Street for alterations for windows. This is the project location, highlighted in red. The request is, as you're aware, is for 18 new soft window solutions for impact vinyl windows. A majority of the windows being replaced are double hung. There is the one in the front, which is proposed to be a single center fixed window with flanking double hung windows. And 531 36th Street is a contributing structure to the Northborough Historic District. The property on the left is the property immediately adjacent to the west, and the property on the east is on the right is immediately adjacent to the east. And this property actually has aluminum double hung windows. It was a historic preservation section review that was approved quite a number of years ago. This is the south elevation from a site visit conducted by staff. And the next couple of slides, we'll just be talking about a couple of different window openings, illustrating the types of windows that exist on the property. On the left, we have window opening number 17 and 18, which shows the aluminum windows. On the right, we have openings number 15 and 16, which show the wood windows that are on the property. And a couple of the other openings in this section of the property do have wood windows as well. This is the inside and outside of window opening number 1 and 2. This is the window that the applicant has mentioned that to be a fixed center window and double hung on each side. It is also would be acceptable if the board chooses to approve them to be 3 double hung windows. This is on the left, we have the 2 different window openings. Number 10 is an aluminum window that's obviously a replacement, and number 12 shows 2 jalousie windows, so another replacement window that has occurred over time, and number 5 is the bathroom window, which is shown as being glass block. This is the site plan with 36th Street being right down here, and a majority of the windows are double hung windows. There are a few paired double hung windows, and staff is proposing one additional condition where the sink is to be a paired double hung window, just to help prevent very wide double hung windows to be on the property. This is the general elevations available in the product approval for the vinyl double hung product that New South Solutions sells, as well as the general elevation found in the product approval for the fixed window. And staff has reviewed the criteria for alterations, and this does partially comply with the Historic Preservation Ordinance as well as the Secretary of Interior Standards number 6. The property does have a number of wood windows based on the photos and site visit. They are mostly clustered, and they do seem to be mostly decent condition. There is some deterioration on a few, but it also has a mix of aluminum windows, which are replacement windows, so there is a hodgepodge of windows on this property. Staff is therefore recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the following condition to bring the project fully into compliance. The first is all windows shall be sized to the original frame opening, match the original window's location within the frame. Glass shall be clear glass, and all double hung windows shall feature a 6/1 light pattern with external OG dimensional buttons. Number 2, the applicant shall install a paired double hung window on window opening number 2, that is the opening immediately above the kitchen sink. Next, the applicant shall install XOX window with a center fixed window with no buttons and 2 flanking casements X. Each casement shall feature a 8 light pattern with external OG dimensional buttons, and the width of each window shall match the existing configuration. And lastly, all existing wood windows shall be recycled, donated, stored on property, or any combination thereof to preserve an irreplaceable element of this resource. Thank you.
Questions of staff?
The window that was in the bathroom, it's a stationary window, I think.
The window that is in the bathroom is glass block.
Okay.
So that will be a double hung window with what the applicant is proposing.
It will? Okay.
Which of the three conditions are you proposing the alternate of the three double-hung windows?
So for the condition number 3, where it talks about the XOX window, if the board sees fit, that can be 3 double hung windows, and already in the condition, it has the 6/1 light pattern in condition number 1.
For that window, what was the likely configuration originally?
The likelihood configuration would have been a fixed center window, likely with no ends, and then 2 flanking casement window on each side.
Do you feel that, that the applicant is fulfilling conditions 1 through 3 satisfactorily? They said 95%. I mean, do you feel that that's satisfactory?
Yes, so I originally sent a draft staff report with several more conditions, because they originally were proposing the 3-light slider in the front as well as single hung windows, but with a vinyl product, there is a double hung product available, so this lowered some of the conditions, and a lot of these conditions are really meant to have that when it comes in for permitting, it's just a straight approval. There isn't any back and forth between staff to address any other comments that would normally happen within the permit process.
And with condition number 4, since you're saying all existing wooden windows, so you're saying that all the windows should be replaced even if the wooden windows are still operational and could be salvaged?
All right, based on my site visit, a lot of the top sash does appear to have been either painted shut or nailed shut, or a combination of both over time. While ideally preserving them and keeping the wood windows on the property would be ideal, that just doesn't unfortunately reflect the South Florida issues with hurricanes and everything that goes along with that. But also, it's only a handful of them based on the photos that were provided by staff and site visits on the property.
Okay, just to comment, a window that's painted shut with a heat gun could be made operational.
Yes, there are several ways to do regular maintenance to make them functional again. So,
yeah, but staff is saying we're going 100% with the replacement windows.
correct. Once again, there's a hodgepodge of windows, so having some consistency would probably be more favorable.
Yeah, well, like I had asked earlier of the applicant, I was wondering, hoping if there was a cluster of operational windows that, let's say, on the first floor, so even if on the second floor you had replacement windows, it wouldn't look odd.
Yeah, so this is a one-story structure, but 15, 16, 14, and 13 are all wood windows.
Okay.
Could you go to the photo of the front of the house, please?
Or would you like the one with the interior and exterior?
That's good. Thank you. So would you say that this front window that condition 3 is about is the most prominent window in the house?
Yes, it is most prominent. There is landscaping in front of it, but it would be the window that you would see walking or driving. I went to the property twice, I believe, so it was very visual.
Thank you.
Is there one option for this opening that you recommend over another? Like, what is your professional opinion that would be the best option of what we've been presented?
The best option would be the XOX with a center fixed window with flanking casements. That would be the best option, but as the applicant is currently proposing in the application itself, the centered fixed window with flanking double hung is not as preferred as it being a triple double hung.
Okay, so that would be to just do away with the fixed, since you can't get the ideal casement
Correct.
pairing. Okay. we have any further questions of staff?
I have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
For that, the window that we were just talking about that condition number 3 applies to, is it possible to do 3 fixed windows and then you could have the mullions made to look like casement? Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Like in English?
Okay, do we have any members of the public here to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none. Go into executive session.
Excuse me
Oh,
one
yes,
moment.
did you want to add something?
For just in general, just make sure that external OG dimensional buttons are required. All right, thank you.
Okay, so keep that first condition.
It's already in condition number 1 for double hung windows, but if you went with fixed windows for the front, 3 fixed windows, just please ensure that's a condition.
Okay, okay, thank you
Thank you.
for the clarification. Okay, so basically, you're asking for a revision to that third condition, then it be 3 fixed.
I think that that would allow for us to get the casement style appearance without, I feel like it's a bit of a compromise. So if we just had double hung windows in there, it would really look nothing like what was originally there or is there now. And I think we can get a lot closer if we just do fixed windows and got more creative with the buttons in there.
Okay. And do you understand that that means that they're not operable?
Correct.
Okay, just to make sure. Okay. Okay. Do we want any further discussion? Would you like to make the motion? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Another question. On condition 4, this condition has been used before in other cases. How do we know as a board that the owner would follow through with actually recycling or restoring the windows? It seems to be that we don't have any kind of legal method to enforce that condition.
Right, and this condition hasn't really been tested yet, so we haven't attempted to enforce it or see if it's being carried out by citizens. But it does seem like a good attempt to preserve these materials.
Right, it just seems like in a situation like this where we're saying, okay, we are going to make a decision to replace all operational existing windows, which to me kind of goes contrary to the standards. If we're going to do that, it would seem that we would need some sort of ordinance or teeth to enforce that particular. Otherwise, we're leaving it in the hands of the applicant or the owners, and the owners aren't even here.
I can look into that further as far as putting teeth into it. But in the meantime, it is, at least some attempt to encourage them to preserve these materials.
If we're gonna allow original fabric to be replaced, we should at least be able to enforce how they could be salvaged.
Right, understood.
Thank you. Any further discussion, or would someone like to make a motion?
I just have a note, since we're talking about vinyl windows in general. I do think that this is a specific case because not all of the original windows, especially those that are facing the front, and that prominent one is an original wood window. So I just wanted to point out the difference for me in comparison to other cases.
No, I agree. Compared to the case we had, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, when they were pristine wood windows. And the setback of the house was very different compared to this one. This one's set back much further from the street, whereas the other one was very close, so it was very noticeable. So I think that does make it easier when many of them have already been replaced.
And I would appreciate it if we do approve this project, if when it's done, we could see a photo of it through the preservation planners for the city, so that we would be able to reflect on how it looks upon completion.
Whatever you guys think.
Great, thank you.
Just want to move in. It's been 6 months and we still don't have a home. Yeah.
Well, with that,
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 19-31 for alterations in accordance with Standard 6. Deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. The motion is based on the testimony presented, along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, specifically Standard 6. The conditions include the following. 1, all windows shall be sized to the original window frame opening, match the original window location within the frame. Glass shall be clear glass, and all double-hung windows shall feature a 6/1 light pattern with an external OG dimensional muttons. 2, the applicant shall install a paired double-hung window on window opening number 12, located above the kitchen sink, measuring 27 inches by 42 inches. 3, the applicant shall install an XOX window with a center fixed window with no muttons and 2 flanking fixed windows to mimic casement windows X. Each fixed window shall feature an 8-light pattern with an external OG dimensional muttons. 4, all existing wood windows shall be recycled, donated, stored on property, or any combination thereof to preserve an irreparable element of this resource, to preserve.
I believe in condition 2 that it's 57, not 27.
Oh, excuse me, 57, thank you.
with that modification, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Good luck on the move.
Hold on a moment. I wanted to make sure that third condition was read as intended. Was it?
Were you approving the, it being a center fixed window with casements on each side?
Center fixed window with 2 flanking fixed windows to mimic casement
Okay,
windows.
thank you.
So, 3 picture windows in the front to look exactly the way that it does.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. If you could use the microphone.
I'm sorry. No, I apologize. No. We want the window to look exactly the way that it does now. Got it. Fair enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
pleasant evening, everybody.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to case number 19-32, 269 Flamingo Drive.
I'm just pulling up the applicant's presentation.
Hello, good evening. Gregory Bonner from B1 Architects, representing the Pollock residence, 269 Flamingo. We have an existing residence that is surrounded on 3 sides by roadways, right-of-ways. On the southern side is Flamingo Drive, which is where the front doors are located. The Coconut Lane, which is on the eastern side, actually abuts to the Ann Norton park.
Sculpture Gardens.
Sculpture Garden, thank you. And on the north side, Austin Lane, which happens to be a small little access driveway. one of the constraints on the site, obviously, is that the depth of the lot is 105 feet, but we have two front setbacks, one on the front and one on the rear, which makes expanding the residence very difficult in the north-south direction. And one of the proposal here is to add on the western side a new master bedroom. I'm not sure, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the existing residence right here. Currently, we have one bedroom on this side, a small living room, and a kitchen in the corner here. There's an accessory structure in the back that does house a small, we'll call it a pool house. The proposal is to really add a new master bedroom wing on the western side, which is really the only way to do this because of the site constraints. So on the southern western side is the new master. On the northwestern side is a new guest wing, a new guest house, which is basically rotating the existing cabana structure to the 90 degrees and pushing it to the west. This structure here is just an open air gazebo. And the last remaining item is the garage, which would be accessible from Coconut Lane. This is the site plan, so you can see this is the Ann Norton Sculpture Gallery and Gardens, and this is Flamingo Drive. The caddy corner, sort of to the northeastern corner, is the parking lot for the Palm Beach Day School area. As you can see in this elevation, there's only one house due to the Sculpture Gardens on the eastern side. There's only one house to the west, which is set back a good 45 feet probably from the property line. There is some beautiful trees that obviously are on their property that we're cognizant of and would love to obviously maintain and not destroy their line of sight. On the back side of this building, in the distance, and you can sort of see it from Flamingo, there is, a big condominium high-rise in the back. So it's very important for us on the back side of the property to landscape this heavily to try to give us as much privacy as possible. Here's the demo plan. So what the proposal is to really get rid of the back garden here, or the back pool cabana, open up some of the sides over here. One thing I will mention is that currently you walk up the front steps, there's probably one or two steps to the living room area, and again another 2 steps into the current bedroom over there. The ceiling height is not even 8 feet, so it's quite low. With that being said, in the proposed plan, we are using this sort of as a sitting room, which could be at some level converted to another bedroom, but it's currently the access to the master bedroom, the new master bedroom. On the western side, there's a big walk-in closet, and on the southern side is the bathroom. Again, with some corner windows with the view to the pool. In between the main residence and the guest cabana would be a trellised area that would have an outdoor fireplace. It would not be covered. It would be open air. And then this raised deck that's in the back here will be accessible to the gazebo area and subsequently back down to where the garage is located on the northeast corner. We are also proposing to do a site wall on the sides and the back. The back is an alleyway, so we're trying to get like a 6-foot wall there. We've recessed that wall 5 feet from the property line in order to get some big arekas and some big type of plantings in the back to not only help us with blocking the image of the big condominium in the distance, but also from the street to give us some privacy. Here are the elevations. One of the reasons, obviously, for the master bedroom on this side, we wanted to raise the windows up high enough to give some security and privacy from the street side. We'd also like to raise the roof a little higher than the existing house for a couple different reasons. One, on a floor plan standpoint, we would like to keep the architecture of the existing house as intact as possible, while sort of identifying the new structure that would be an addition. With that being said, we have to bring the roof line up high enough to not, from a constructability standpoint, to be able to work within the existing framework of the existing roof. So to bring that up higher. So this is the existing front elevation. As you can see, you can sort of read the existing front elevation as is, with the new addition on the side. This structure here is the garage structure, which is recessed a good 75 feet back from the front, or 50 feet from the front elevation. On the bottom here is the western elevation with the master bedroom on this side, the open air trellis here, and the guest cabana on the southern side, on the northern side. This is the connection between the main house. It's sort of a section through the existing house, and then the covered area to the open gazebo with the garage in the back. This is also sort of a cut section looking back at the northern elevation of the master bedroom with the trellis above. And lastly, we've got the Coconut Lane elevation, which the house would read identical, except the master bedroom roof poking up in the rear distance, and the new garage accessible from Coconut Lane. This one on the bottom is also a cut section through the main house with the master in the back, the opened trellised area with the fireplace, and the guest cabana. And here attached are some details for the cabana and window and door schedules. As you can see, we're trying to really maintain the existing house as much as possible by giving some relief to the front facade, pushing it back. Because of the elevation change of the interior of the house, we're trying to maintain a nice interior ceiling height, which is how everybody wants to live these days, and trying to basically keep the existing house as much intact as possible. We realize that in this application, currently there is no landscape plans, but we have the intentions to spend quite a significant amount in order to landscape this properly heavily, including some of the comments which I had received from Frederic of maybe potentially pushing this wall on Coconut Lane back a couple inches to get a vine in there. On the western side, we're very cognizant of the only neighbor that we have there, making sure that that elevation is landscaped enough so that we provide them some privacy and some relief from the new structures that are being proposed. And subsequently, that's pretty much it.
Questions of the applicant?
So, are you aware of a condition here for approval to lower the parapet of the garage?
Yes, perfectly fine with that.
On the west elevation where you have the open terrace, yes, this bottom drawing,
Sorry.
west,
This one here?
the west elevation. Right there.
Okay.
In the elevation, it looks like the taller structure is stepping forward, but in the floor plans, it looks like it's on one plane. So is it on one plane?
I'm sorry. Let me just get to the floor plan. Oop. Sorry. Yes, I'd have to look to see if the elevation is just missing the existing bump out. Is that what you're referring to?
On the west elevation?
Because this
on
is the west
terrace?
elevation here, which is a consistent wall besides
Yes,
it being
and on
broken.
the elevations, it looks like the master suite portion is proud.
Oh, this little additional line there? Yeah, that should go. It should be one wall.
What is the
I would
ceiling?
also tell you, just because you brought it up and now I'm looking at it, if you look where my cursor is, there should be the one-story portion of the existing house that projects, so that's a mistake. Apologize for that. Yeah, right here, this portion. Sorry, this portion here should be shown in that western elevation.
What is the ceiling height in the master bedroom?
I believe we proposed it at 10 feet.
And the rest of the house is 8?
It varies because the living room here does have a vaulted ceiling, but it's at a lower elevation. You have to step up on both sides to the rest of the house. So even though the eave and the roof is consistent, those ceiling heights come down because we have to step up in those other locations.
I mean, I may be reading your plans incorrectly, but it looks like it's 12 feet for the ceiling height in the master. Is the existing ground floor elevation different for the master?
Yeah, because it's got to match, like I said, in the floor plan, this elevation here is a good foot below everything else. These are all crawl spaces underneath the majority of the house. So when you step up here, you're probably a good foot and a half above.
So it's showing it is 11.7 NAVD. And then your new beam height at 23.7 NAVD.
I'd have to verify that if that's, I can't read it on this print, but obviously one of the reasons is just to make sure that we can not modify the existing.
On your plans, it's reading as 12 feet for the ceiling height.
It looks like you are correct. It's not to the bottom of the fascia. It looks like it's taken to the top of the fascia board. But obviously, we have to drop the ceiling for air conditioning and other stuff that's up there. Keep also in mind that if I lowered the soffit, then the whole roof line would also, instead of it poking up cleanly, would be a mixed match.
That is an area of concern for me personally, just that it's so much taller, a 4-foot difference between the original structure and this master suite addition. Have you looked at any other alternatives on how the two could meet?
Inherently, the problem becomes is the roofs don't look good because you're going to have the ridge lines sort of intersecting, especially since the new master is pushed back. Where that ridge line would come in would be a very odd condition, especially from a water standpoint, plus from an aesthetic standpoint, because it won't be either matching the soffit or it would be sort of in between.
Okay. Is there any way to compromise on the ceiling height? I know you mentioned that there's a vaulted ceiling in the living room. Perhaps that could be created in the master to allow for the height to come down a little bit, because 4 feet is a...
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about the interior application of what we can do from a standpoint of volumetrics. Really, I'm more concerned about the exterior elevation of fascia lines and roof, because you might end up with little small pieces of roofs that tie things together, and I don't think that's going to look good.
I do think that you could get a little bit tighter to bring the beam height down. I think it's
I'm not
reading a
opposed.
little bit different just because of the way that you're reading the elevation, but it could get a little bit tighter so it's not as tall.
Okay, I'm not opposed to moving it down and trying.
What do you think realistically it could...
My guess is a foot, but I mean, I'm
Okay.
looking at very small drawings and I have not been to the site.
Okay.
We could try a foot. I mean, as you can see, this little triangle right in here is, it's a cricket. So once I get that ridge line down with the cricket, just from a construction standpoint, to get someone to actually physically produce it is going to be very, very tight. I don't have a problem trying to lower it. I'm just telling you that it's going to make constructability an issue. I don't want to have a water intrusion issue either, and I've got to remain a cricket because that existing roof line is coming down straight towards the new master wall. So it's got to have some sort of relationship to actually being able to construct it. If it's attached, I think you're going to end up with a funky condition of two ridges intersecting. I don't have a problem trying to lower it, though.
Do you have any further questions of the applicant?
I have one, going back to that west elevation that's pulled up on the screen right now. Would you be open to the wall that's next to the terrace, just pushing it back even like 4 to 8 inches so that there's a differentiation in plane, so it's not just one straight plane?
We're talking about the 6-foot wall between the two structures?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, what I'm looking to do is just break up that plane a little bit for the
I agree.
neighbor.
I think it makes sense.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Frederique Mittner, presenting a quick overview of the project that was presented to you by the applicant and then our recommendations for it. It is a pre-construction application for the new garage, the guest house, and the additions. As you saw before, the subject site is unique in the fact that it is surrounded by Flamingo Drive on the south, Coconut Lane on the east, and Austin Lane on the north. It is in the El Cid Historic District and was built in 1950. Here are some site photographs. This left image is Coconut Lane, and the north side is where there's currently a carport, a flat metal carport that was not original to the site that is accessed from the north side. And here's some Google Street View images to kind of capture really the context and the essence. There's quite a side setback to the adjacent property owner with a beautiful oak tree here. This is where that master bedroom addition would go. And then you come around the side and go down Coconut Lane. And as you can see, it certainly has a lot of vegetation here from the Ann Norton Sculpture Garden and some on this site, but other than that, it's primarily a vehicular pass-through lane, as well as the north side of Austin Lane. And what you could see in this image is what was referenced by the applicant is the tall Rapallo buildings behind. So that's kind of the context of the site. As was mentioned and as in your packet, they want to demolish that carport that you saw. It was a very simple metal flat roof, not original. Demolish an accessory structure that is non-contributing to the site. Construct a approximately 566 square foot addition to the primary structure over here, which was that master bedroom we spoke about. A flat roof parapet, a 380 square foot one-car garage, a 357 square foot accessory structure, and a gazebo in between that would have just a solid roof but no walls, and then interior and site work. This is the floor plan that was already shown to you and the elevations. Staff has reviewed the application, and based on what was presented, we do believe it meets the additional criteria in our historic preservation ordinance and Secretary of Interior Standards number 9 and 10. However, to bring it further into compliance, very similar to some of the comments that were asked by the board, is that we request that the top of the garage parapet roof shall be lower to align with the bottom of the eave of the primary structure. So there is that straight line, and I'll just show you what we're referring to in the plans here, and the applicant has agreed to that. That's this condition here, where by lowering it to meet the eave height, it would be more compatible and continue to read horizontally. That's the only recommendation staff has at this time. However, I want to also share with the board the feedback we've gotten from the neighbors. We do have one email from James Malloy at 276 Flamingo Drive, who states, "I'm writing this letter in support of the proposed project. It appears to be well thought out, will be an improvement to our street in the historic Elsted neighborhood." So that was in favor. I just received that this afternoon at 4:17. I did get 2 other calls from neighbors, and I said I would share their comments with the board. One was the concern on Coconut Lane about there not being enough green space there. Again, it's a unique situation because you are allowed to build your wall right onto your property line. However, it is quite lush, and in speaking with the architect, they were amenable to setting it back enough to at least get a vine or something on that 4-foot wall on Coconut Lane. Another neighbor was concerned about the 5-foot setback on the west side, which is permitted, and the roof overhang. Again, having a lot of wall space, kind of making this a compound, which is not really necessarily the context of this street, but it is allowed by the zoning code, and that it's a very solid wall on the west side. But the applicant agreed to, again, have enhanced landscaping, which is something that will then be reviewed at the permit level. So I just wanted to share that staff did receive some feedback. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions of staff?
So would you recommend making it a condition about the wall along Coconut Lane?
Yes, I think the neighbors would prefer that.
Thank you.
And I think there's precedence for that in the sense that there is a lot of lush landscaping and no walls on that street. Therefore, it would be historically appropriate.
Is it Coconut Lane or is it Coconut Row?
My understanding it's Coconut Lane.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any safety requirements in terms of a railing on a roof deck like that?
There are. I was not able to determine prior to this meeting exactly what that height needs to be, but I can inquire with the building, continue to inquire with the building.
And if some sort of railing had to be added, is that something that you would have input on?
Staff would review it, but perhaps if I may, if it's all right with the board, perhaps I can let the architect address the railing.
The top of roof is the top of parapet. There is actually the roof height, the floor level is 3 feet below the top of that parapet. So there is a railing to it. It just looks clean because you don't see another railing on top of it. It's the stucco work that comes up.
So that meets whatever requirements there are in terms of safety?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Did you review the garage door that they are proposing to use? Do you have any concerns?
No, since it's new construction, I think it's appropriate.
Any further questions of staff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any members of the public that are here to speak on this case? Yes.
Hi, Tula Villavasso at 269 Flamingo Drive, and good evening. And I want to welcome their new neighbors to the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to this. I mean, I'm not against it. I just have a couple of questions, and some of the questions were already answered by your presentation, so I appreciate that. the questions that I have is, there was no indication of paving or landscaping on the plans, so, but I guess there's no landscape plans, so.
So that's not something that we have purview over, so there's no requirement that they submit a landscape plan when they apply, at least to us.
Then my main concern is, what is the hours of construction and what is the construction time frame that we're looking at?
Would you like to address staff? What is,
It is in our code, and I think it's 7 to 5, but I would have to double check for you, and I can get back to you on, but I know it's established in our code.
Okay, so we don't know the time frame.
I don't recall the hours offhand either, but it is in the code of ordinances.
It is in the code, and it's typical daily work hours. You
7
need
to
get
5.
No, please don't quote me entire. I believe that's what it is, but I will get back to you with the exact code language.
Okay. And we don't know how long the construction is planned to take place?
do you have any
Is it-
ideas?
Is it
of-
6 months, a year? What are we looking at?
They have, I don't think they've sent it out to bid yet, so they don't have an idea yet of
Okay.
the schedule.
And then final of the comment that I have is parking for the construction, where they're going to be parking. We happen to live across the street, and when like landscape trucks come and they park behind our driveway, with the single lane driveway, it's really hard to get out of our driveways. So if they could take that into consideration, that they wouldn't block us in, because having an SUV and a narrow single driveways, it's really hard to get out of the driveway. So I would just like them to take that into consideration.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Do you have any other members of the public that are here to speak? And did you have a chance to fill out one of those cards? If you could fill out one of those cards for us. Thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay, seeing none. Is there anything you'd like to say in response? You have an opportunity to do so. If not, no worries. Okay, we'll go into executive session. It's definitely a unique site.
Well, overall, I think the placement of the proposed additions is smart and sensitive to the existing structure.
I think maybe, yeah.
Ma'am, did you want to speak? Did you want to have the opportunity to speak?
Frederica was supposed to, that's you, I'm Barbara Paris. Are you going to share those for me? I can't hear.
Yes, I did share them, but you're certainly welcome to speak.
No, that's okay, I wasn't hearing you well, and I just wanted to make sure I
Yes.
didn't realize you were Frederica.
That's okay, yes. I
Thank
mentioned
you.
the things we discussed.
Thank you so
Sure.
much, I
You're welcome.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, so that was regarding the landscaping.
That was the,
The
5-foot setback, the solid, no windows, more landscape, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the adjoining neighbor with the oak tree, yeah.
I appreciate how willing the applicants to work with the addressing neighbors' concerns. I think that goes a long way, especially when you're coming into a new neighborhood. So thank you for doing that, and also addressing staff and the board's feedback.
And I also just wanted to note that the plans are easier to read than some we've had in the past. And earlier this year, we made a note to Ms. Mittner to ask for existing and proposed, similar to how the applicant has laid it out.
It's definitely helpful.
Mhm.
Any further comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 19-32 for additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, ordinance number 3554-02. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, specifically standards 9 and 10, which state: new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. 10, new additions and adjacent or related construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. The conditions include the following. 1, the top of the garage parapet roof shall be lowered by approximately 1 foot to align with the bottom of the eave of the primary structure. 2, push the west terrace wall to the east a minimum of 4 to 8 inches to create a differentiation of the planes on the west elevation. 3, lower the overall height of the master bedroom addition approximately 1 foot. 4, push the wall along Coconut Lane back 4 inches to allow for landscaping.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion approved. Okay, moving on to case number 19-33, 207 Edgewood Drive.
Hi, good evening, thank you. My name is Jerry Hogan. I'm representing Deborah Hoffman, the owner, and due to a recent medical condition, she can't stand for very long periods of time right now. But what we're doing is siding on the house, which was originally going to be repair as they got into it. And after some years of water intrusion, they discovered that the siding, 90% of it, or 95% of it, was not going to hold up. I mean, it was literally falling off the house. You could put your fingers through some of it, and it just needed to be done. So we took the permit out to do it. I guess there was an issue regarding the historical preservation, and they asked us to resubmit for a building permit, and because the scope of work has increased. And, you know, I've never applied for a building permit before. You know, I'm not a contractor. So I was just trusting on what people were telling me. So the house was a mismatch of different types of siding through years of you know, different repairs here and there, and it was just better for the structural integrity of the home, as well as the aesthetics of it, to just have a uniformed siding. And we're using pine siding. I was told that by the contractors that the siding was pine. We're discovering there's cedar though as well. You know, we're just here to ask that we continue. If you see a photo of the home and compare the original to what they're doing, it's not there's not a discernible difference to the naked eye. And we have one of the most setback home on the street. You know, it's I forget the footage, but you know, it's not right on top of the sidewalk, and from the street view, and even going up to the front porch and looking at it, you know, once it's painted, you would never even knew it was sided. And they also discovered that a lot of the siding was being held on literally by the paint. You know, I don't know how many coats over the years that it has gotten. So that's what we're here to do, to see if we can get through it and finish the job and take it from there.
Questions of the applicant?
So what is the actual condition of the house right now?
Was the outdoor condition
No,
of the house?
the actual condition, I mean, did the work started or you didn't
Work
start?
started. It's 3/4.
3/4.
Yeah. The front, the facade of the house is not done. The two sides and the rear of the house is done.
It's already done.
Mm-hmm. We did have an inspection on 6/11, and the inspector came over and he looked at it and he really was complimenting the work as well when he was over there.
And you said you're representing the homeowner, you're not actually
I'm not the
doing
homeowner, no, she is.
No,
Yep,
you're
Deborah
representing the
Hoffman.
homeowner,
Yes.
but you're not actually doing the work.
Oh, I'm not doing the work, no,
Okay.
I'm a friend.
But you applied for the building permit on the contractor's behalf or the
Yes.
subcontractors rather than them doing it themselves?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Hi.
Hi. So we have, I'm sorry, I have sciatica.
Could you come a little bit closer to the microphone? Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, I apologize, I got sciatica. But anyway, we came in to get a permit, but we didn't think the damage was as extensive as it was. So as they were doing the work, they found out we needed to go in and revise our permit to do the whole, thing. So we were told that to leave the top second story alone because it faces the street and you have permission to finish the back and the sides. So that's what we did. Now we haven't ordered any more wood, but the wood's the same exact measurements as the old siding they took off. So, I mean.
And it is lap-sided, so it's
Yeah,
not.
I mean-
The integrity of the siding is the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
okay.
Do we have any further questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Aaron Boringer, Historic Preservation Planner for 207 Edgewood Drive. This is the project location highlighted in red. And the request for today is removal of existing wood siding and installation of new pine wood siding. And the 207 Edgewood Drive is a contributing structure within the Prospect Park, Southland Park Historic District. On the left, we have the property immediately adjacent to the west, and on the right, we have the property immediately adjacent to the east. And this is the south elevation from Google Street View in March 2019, showing the siding that's on the structure. This is, well, obscured, but showing the east elevation of the structure as well from Google Street View. And the west, while overexposed, just showing some of the deterioration, as you can see towards the bottom. This is a south elevation as provided by a photo in the application, showing that the siding had been removed already on this side of the front elevation. And these upcoming slides are just existing condition of the siding that was there. These two are the front, which shows deterioration on both images. On the left is another one of the front showing further deterioration of the siding, and on the right we have the rear elevation, which shows deterioration in various points. These two images are both of the rear elevation. And this photo is from a site visit showing the contractor working. The existing wood siding still hasn't been touched as a part of the requirements, and they were currently working on this west elevation right here. And this is the west elevation siding being installed. It looks very similar or exactly the same as what was previously there. This is the east elevation. Work had not been carried out on this second floor part yet. And the applicant has said that they're using pine wood, which beforehand, all of it was pine wood. Apparently during the process, they discovered some cedar, cypress, I mean. They're saying that the thickness of the wood siding is 1 inch with a width of 7¼ inches. And this was previously a permit approval for just portions of the rear, repairing and replacing portions of the rear, but as the applicant mentioned, that the work greatly exceeded its scope, and they decided to do the full, all the wood siding, and that required a revision to the building permit, which triggered a certificate of appropriateness requiring board approval. So this does comply with the Historic Preservation Ordinance as well as the Secretary of Interior number 6 and 9. For number 6, the photos do show that deterioration to siding has occurred. Most, if not most of the wood siding is pine wood, and they're using pine wood to replace it. And it also does comply with number 9 because it's an in-kind replacement. Staff is therefore recommend approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. The first of which is the applicant shall install new pine wood siding with an actual thickness and width to match the removed and existing siding. The applicant shall supply a sample to verify the dimensions of the existing and proposed siding. They do have a sample. And the applicant shall reinstall the existing colonial shutters or install new wood or aluminum colonial shutters that fully cover the window opening. Thank you.
Questions of staff?
Does the applicant agree with the conditions?
I did send the applicant the conditions, and are you agreeable? Yes, they are agreeable to the conditions.
Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, do you have any members of the public? Okay, seeing none. Oh, I think we have some samples.
All right, and Jerry did mention to me that it's actually 3/4 inch, so there is a difference between the siding, but it was just, the condition here is just for staff to verify to make sure that the siding being installed was consistent with what was previously there. So this would be the new wood siding, which does need to be cut to match as closely as possible to the siding that has been removed.
So you're saying it will be cut
Yes.
to match?
Sure.
Okay.
I just bought 2 small ones and I wasn't in the
Okay. Okay. Any further questions of staff? And we don't have any members of the public? Okay, no? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll go into executive session. Well, the applicant's agreeable to the conditions and said that they will cut down the wood to match the existing. So I think that's the best we can do. Obviously, it's ideal to keep the original, but we can see the condition requires replacement. Do we have a motion? And we have 2 conditions.
I move that we approve case number 19-33 for 207 Edgewood Drive in accordance with standards 6 and 9 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. This motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. Standard 6 states that deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other qualities, and where possible, materials. Standard 9 states new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. To bring the application further into compliance There are 2 conditions for approval. Number 1, the applicant shall install new pine wood siding in bevel pattern with an actual thickness and width to match the removed and existing siding. The applicant shall supply a sample, which they have done, to verify the dimensions of the existing and proposed siding. The applicant shall reinstall the existing colonial shutters or install new wood or aluminum colonial shutters that fully cover the window opening.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion approved. Thank you. And with that, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
You could just say so moved.
So moved.
So I know the meeting was just adjourned, but I do
Oh,
have.
sorry.
No, the adjournment works. I just wanted to clarify for the board, because I know it keeps coming up in regards to Standard 6, especially Mr. Pickney. We are not against wood windows. We would love to save all windows. It's just we are working off the existing policy that wood windows can be replaced, even at a staff level, with aluminum. So the only reason we bring it to you is if it's a vinyl product. And I've been remiss in scheduling that window workshop where I think we were going to revisit it, but it's not because we don't believe in wood windows. I just wanted to clarify that we would love to retain that original material, and perhaps we'll get back to that at some point.
Oh, I certainly understand that.
Okay.
And at this point, I think that we've approved vinyl windows already, and I think
So, yeah. So that's why they're there and why we say it complies, because it works with our policy. So, not because we love the idea. I just wanted to clarify.